This brings us now to the panel discussion. I would like to ask the 4 speakers of this session on the floor. Professor Yin, maybe you join us to these tables here to better share the microphones. So you remember we got some insights into the different regions, production styles, sizes of the markets, and I'm sure there are quite some questions. Please, the first question. No question. Hans?
Thank you, Chair. Since August, we have the ban of exporting European products, pork and so on, to the Russian market. I think every areas of the world are involved in these changes of the flow of the pork. What are the real expectations of these developments? Maybe beginning Johan from Denmark.
Yes, I would like to start. First of all, it didn't start from August. With the pigs, it started already in January because of the African swine fever. So we couldn't export our breeding stock to Russia. So it actually just got, of course, it got a lot worse when then the total ban came here in August. And for us in Denmark, of course, the price has been a catastrophe. I think we expected to have a 20% higher price at this moment than we actually have. And the thing is that on Tuesday, I have to stand in front of 2,000 Danish pig farmers and tell them the expectations for next year's pig prices. And I would very much like the Ukrainian situation to develop positively before that. But I'm not sure it's going to do it. So the problem is, as long as we can see if there's no change to that situation, the prices in Europe will be under heavy pressure.
Maybe a Latin or South African perspective?
We are members of the BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. I do know, I've heard a little rumor that Russia's spoken to South Africa about supplying pork. We cannot supply them because we don't have enough. We have about 40% of our farms are compartmentalized, which means we can export if we wish. We just don't have the number of animals.
It is cold.
Yeah.
Rebrand them? Is that what we'll do?
Yeah. Stefano, maybe your country see some chances in there?
I didn't follow exactly the question.
The question was on your expectations on the situation with Russia. So as long Russia kept their borders closed for European food, as well as pork, what you would expect for the countries in your region?
I see. Well, the truth that the only country, as far as I know, that is exporting to Russia is Brazil. And right now, I think that in Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, the price of pork has increased considerably. The price increase is 30 to 40% in each country, because it was, as the main exporter is the United States, and they suffer the PED, then 10% of the production was dead. So there was not enough pigs. So right now, you will see that the price is very high in the national market and also for export. So I think that there is not too much, because the price is so good that...
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Any other question to the panel? Maybe I can drop a question to the different regions, referring to the ban of antibiotic growth promoters, which took place in Europe already, and which might occur and happen in some other regions. So maybe to start with the South American regions again, what would you expect in that field?
Well, the truth is that in many other countries, at least in Mexico, it's not being used as a promoter. So antibiotic is being used mainly for treatment. same as in your area. But the truth is that the percent of medication is around 2%. So 2% of the cost of production is being used for antibiotics and vaccines and so on. But certainly many products has been withdrawn and they are forbidden to use because they last longer in the meat. So same as in other countries, but it's not so strict. But also there is a lot of pressure to reduce the use as a promoter.
Thank you. South Africa?
In South Africa, antibiotic growth promotants are not banned, but the use thereof is fairly strictly controlled. From my personal point of view, in my own private practice, I probably use too much antibiotics. It's a veterinary fault, I agree. I would like to use far less. And as our health increases and we have good stocking densities and good housing and good nutrition, we will use less antibiotics in the future.
Yeah, and would be interesting to see also the Chinese situation. Are there any?
The government is encouraging use the Chinese medicine. As usually Chinese medicine is different as in Denmark, because in Chinese medicine we use many not only one kind, but use at least the 5 or the 10, just like in the human. We all together combine. In this case, especially in the poultry, it's very successful. But for pigs, the price the price is much higher than the antibiotics. And also we now we have a try. We put the Chinese medicine not in the pig needs. We put it in the sow. In the sow, because the improve the sow's immune function, and the effect is the pig needs reduce the diarrhea. And we will try in this way.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything to add from your perspective, or is this topic over anyway?
Well, it's. I think we went down a couple of years. 2009, we had introduced what was called a yellow card, and that took down. We said it's not possible to reduce our use of antibiotics anymore. We got a yellow card system, and we reduced it within 3 months with 30%. So, and from then on, we actually started using a little bit more every year. So if we could just have had, instead of a 30% drop in 3 months, we could have a 2% drop every year, then we wouldn't have a discussion in Denmark. But it's actually, the problem is that the level isn't the problem. The problem is if we have a little rise.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Peter?
What has happened in South Africa is as our feed has improved, especially baby pig feeds, become more acceptable, better, palatable, and we use more enzymes and acid oils and nutraceuticals. We are using less antibiotics.
Okay, thank you. There is a question in the last row. The microphone is on the way to you.
Thank you. I'd like to address the gentleman from the Danish Association. And my question is, let's say, has to do with Europe mainly. How sustainable is pig production in Europe, taking into consideration all the obstacles, or the so-called obstacles, for animal welfare, environmental reasons, pricing, GMOs, AGB ban, the whole lot? Is it profitable and sustainable to produce pigs in Europe or even cattle these days, or shall we just import everything? Because nothing is helping. Everything will get more and more problems into it.
Okay. Hans, I think this is yours.
Yeah, it's mine. It's what I work with every day, trying to keep some of those challenges away, because they're political. What I wanted to say before was that the level of antibiotics is if in Denmark we have a discussion on antibiotics, if we use the double of antibiotics, the discussion would still be the same. It's really not a matter of the level. It's just a matter of we use antibiotics. But I have the same question. If you look at this circle I showed you with 5 million sows and 125 million slaughter pigs, within that circle, some areas are very, very dense with pigs. For instance, in the northwestern part of Germany and in eastern part of Holland, the density is very, very high. And in those areas, they're starting now to have discussions on if you want to build, you have to build with air cleaners, you have to do add a lot of extra costs on your production system. And producing a product that has to be sold on the world market price. It's just a matter of time before these production facilities will be, or these areas will close down, and it will evolve somewhere else. And I see there, we have within that circle also certain areas where there is possibilities, more room, not that many neighbors. For instance, the eastern part, the western part of Poland, also eastern Germany. But the problem there is that the public opinion in those areas is already so dramatically against pig production that it might be too late to move it.
Okay. Any comment on that, or any last question from the room?
One comment on the story of Hans. Hans, it is always so that when you are under challenge, so when you have stress, that you improve yourself, and you see this in the swine industry also. That's why Denmark and Holland maybe are on a much higher level in the production to reduce the costs. So you can also see all these kinds of challenges as a chance to improve. So to be the first step in the production.
Yeah, but when I see that circle of 5 million pigs, 5 million sows and 125 million, I think in 10 or 15 or 20 years, it'll be just about the same. It might have moved a little bit around in a circle, but still you have a heavy slaughterhouse industry in that area. You have a big consumption in that area. You have a large tradition of pig production. So, because otherwise this pressure has been there for 10 and 20 years. So you could have asked me the same question 10 years ago. And I would probably also then have thought that maybe this challenge is too big for us. But I think in 10 years we could have the same discussion again. We'll still be there.
Mm-hmm. We have a last question.
Within how many years the investors in a modern farm, in a modern pig farm, expect to get their money back in your countries?
Where we start? Where we start? South Africa. Yeah.
In my country, at the very present, about 6.5 years.
Yes. Well, I think that from Mexico is not really so easy because the economy varies a lot from one year to the other, but usually it takes about 15 to 20 years.
I can say for Denmark we're more in line with the Mexicans, but if we could calculate, we wouldn't be in pig production.
But in China, it's depend the market price. Where the price is very good about 1 year, but where the price, but this year is very terrible for the pig producer because the price go down. It depends the market price.
In Denmark, we had the situation from about late 90s and up to 2007 or 8, that the land prices, they just went up and up. So the banks and all the pig farmers in Denmark, due to a law that was there, have land. So the banks actually didn't make any discussions about profitability. If somebody wants to build a pig farm, he could build a pig farm because the security was there in the land. Since 2008, everything has been very, very, very slow in Denmark because the land prices dropped to about half. But I think that most of what is now built is sow production units, because it's easier to make money with piglets and exporting piglets.
So thank you very much. You see, different regions, similar challenges. Before I thank our speakers, I would like to announce two things. The first thing is I'd like to announce the coffee break. The second thing is you have a last chance to register for the social tour, still at the welcome reception desk. Here I would like to thank the four speakers from the different regions very much for the interesting presentations. And I would like the audience to give a big hand.